Dear students, welcome back to the online sessions on embedded systems. So we have completed the basic part of the architecture, architectural details of the sensors with smartness included in that, which is called as intelligent sensor. Okay, and in today's session, we'll try to go with some more traits of the sensors. Okay, so in that first one is, what is the basic definition of a primary sensor? So what is primary sensor? Primary sensor is the basic sensor which is normally going to give a response to the input stimulus so that the output is going to be electrical in nature. That is what called a primary sensor. Now, how the sensor really looks like? This is going to be known as a smart sensor. If you think of a smart sensor, what we can think of a smart sensor as, this is nothing but a smart sensor. This entire unit is a sensor unit. But actually, what is the primary sensor? This is the primary sensor. This primary sensor is sensing the temperature, say for example, and then this is normally going to get processed by various modules, which are going to get included along with the primary sensor. Right. So that means, such as, this is going to be a memory unit to store the data. That means external memory card has been applied over here, and it is going to be data manipulation module. That is a memory units. We're going to have RAM area. We're going to have where we store the programs, and it's going to have a communication port using which we transfer this data to the external world. And similarly, you're going to have something like pressure and temperature sensors like this, and these sensors are simply connected to the DSP based systems using the interfacing hardwares like this. So this is what the basic picture of a sensor that we are going to have. Then what do you mean by a primary sensor? We are talking to you continuously. What is a sensor? A basic sensor is known as a primary sensor, which is normally going to give a response to the external stimulus like strain, stress, thermal energy, optical energy, electrical signal, magnetic energy. So these input changing signals are normally applied to the sensor, and which is normally used to change the behavior of the material at atomic and molecular level. So that means what? The primary sensor is going to change its molecular behavior or atomic behavior for the given inputs. For the change in given inputs, it is going to give a output behavior, something like this. That is nothing but a primary sensor. That means the basic definition of a sensor is applied to the primary sensor. Only thing is that the behavior of the material is normally going to get changed based on the input stimulus in the case of the primary. That means we don't explicitly specifically say that it is going to give electrical energy, right? In the case of transducer, we can say always. In the case of general sensor definition, we can say that it is going to provide electrical output for the stimulus at the input. Coming to primary sensor, it is totally somewhat more specific to the sensor. That means external stimulus like strain, optical signal, thermal signal, electrical signal, magnetic signal change. Magnetic signal will change the behavior of the material at the atomic level or molecular level. Is known as primary sensor. Now, this particular concept is normally used in designing a primary sensing element for the particular parameter, which in response to this, the considered material yields a maximized output and in response to other stimuli is minimized. That means this kind of a concept is normally used in the practical sensor circuits. What do you mean by excitation? As I spoke earlier, excitation is nothing but applying the supply voltage from the external world is known as excitation. That means excitation is generalized term used for the supply to the primary sensors. That means it is applied to the general. It is a generalized term normally used for supplying the energy to the primary sensor. So if you think of a amplifier circuit, think of a transistor amplifier circuit. Now, how do we energize the amplifier circuit? By using the power supply VCC, which we apply from the external world. That is called energizing or known as excitation. In our mobile phones, what is the excitation we use? We use the batteries. So batteries are used for excitation of the mobile phone circuit. So similarly here, the term called excitation. So excitation is a more general term used for supply to the primary sensors. That means because of this thing, we have two types of sensors, primary sensors and a active sensors and a passive sensors. What is active sensor? For active sensors, they going to process, they are going to process by taking the supply from the external world, whereas passive sensors does not need any external supply for its operation. It's called passive sensor. That means it is somewhat a reverse definition in terms of the active and passive components. Okay. So, well, that is what activeness, passiveness, active and passive sensor components. So it will give supply to the entire chip, obviously, because if it is the case with a smart sensor, the given supply has to be supplied not only to the sensor, but also to the entire chip in the sensor circuit, smart sensor circuit. So supply can be required to provide different outputs at different stages of the systems. As I was talking to you, that sensors are normally used in the multidisciplinary environments. So in multidisciplinary environments, what are the situations that come arise? The situation that come arise is going to be that different systems at different stages require different, different systems at different stages provide different outputs. And these different outputs are normally applied to different other systems. Therefore, the supplies can be required to provide different outputs at different stages of systems. That means same supply is normally applied to the different systems, which provides different outputs at different stages. And in thermocouples based system, no excitation is required. These thermocouples comes under the passive type of the sensors. So in resistive type of the sensor, excitation is required. Now, how many types of excitations we can give? We can give AC and DC excitations. Under AC, we can give pulsed AC excitation and continuous AC excitation. What is the meaning of AC? AC means that there is going to be a signal continuously with respect to time, whether it is a pulsed AC or continuous AC signal. But continuously signal is going to be there with respect to time. Coming to DC, there is a pulsed or continuous type. DC means what? Direct current. There won't be any changes. That means there won't be any oscillations in the signal that we really going to have. So two types of excitations we're going to have, right? So usually amplifiers are going to excited by continuous DC signals. Okay. Well, and maybe a pulsed DC signals, right? Digital amplifier circuits are normally going to get excited by the pulsed DC signals, whereas analog amplifier circuits are normally going to be applied with the continuous DC signals. So these are all the various types of excitations that we can apply to the sensors. And amplification, we have discussed. Amplification is a process required to amplify the weak output of the sensor. Okay, so that it can drive the following circuits. That is called amplification. So usually the gain of the amplifier will take a minimum of 50. Okay, for the smart sensors amplifier circuits. Okay, the next one is going to be called as instrumentation amplifier. Instrumentation amplifier is normally used along with the operational amplifiers. This is not there in the syllabus, so I'm skipping this. The next one is filters. Why we use filters? Filters are normally used to remove the unwanted noise present in the signal. Okay, we use the filters. So normally filters are going to come like come in terms of low pass filter, high pass filter, band pass filter, band reject filters in the communication arena. So analog filters are often resorted to, although Filters are necessary at conversion stage mainly because digital type consumes large time processing power. So digital filters are going to consume more power than analog filters. Therefore, we prefer analog filters in the sensor circuits because sensor circuits are going to operate with very, very less power. So therefore, power is going to be the input power, the whatever power we supply for the sensors should be really, really very, very, very low. So therefore, we prefer analog filters rather than the digital filters because digital filters consume large time processing power. Then we discussed about converters. Data conversion from analog to frequency is normally done, that is analog to frequency is done for signal transmissions and digital conversions. Voltage control oscillators are normally used for these purposes. There are two types of voltage control oscillators called as ADC and DAC, analog to digital converters and digital to analog type of the converters. Right. And compensation. This is also one of the important point, which is very important in the sensors. Because the output of sensors are always going to change. It is not going to be uniform with respect to the input, or it is not linear with respect to the input. Output of sensor is always non-linear with respect to the input because of so many changes. Therefore, compensation is very much essential. So compensation is nothing but it is an attempt to counter all the sorts of non-linearities or non-idealities in the primary sensor characteristics. So the commonly encountered sensor defects are what called known as non-linearity. The output is non-linear with respect to the input. Okay, so that means output is not changing with respect to the input. It's called non-linear behavior. And next one is noise. Noise is encountered in the output. That is why compensation is required. Response time is not normally up to the desired level. Therefore, compensation is required. Drift. There is going to be a drift in the output of the sensor circuit. Therefore, we need to have. And cross sensitivity is also an important issue, and interference is an issue. So what is cross sensitivity? Cross sensitivity is nothing but the sensor device should be more sensitive to the desired stimulus, and it should be less sensitive to the non-desired stimulus signals. This is called cross sensitivity, has to be maintained by the sensors. Then interference problems. Okay. So these are all the certain problems which you're going to have non-linearity. That means the output has to be, output is expected to be linear, but output is not linear and output is going to be non-linear. So we should always take measures to get the linear output at the output of a smart sensor. So these analog processing techniques are going to have a serious non-linearity issues, which at one time was solved by a piecewise linear segment approach modeled by linear electronic circuits. But the range of the linear electronics circuit, piecewise linear range is going to be very, very small. It cannot be applied for the large voltages. Therefore, we will go with another technique known as the lookup tables technique. So using the lookup tables technique, we normally going to get the linear output for a large voltage signals, right? In comparison to the piecewise linear model technique used to get the or to avoid the non-linearity at the output of the sensor circuits. Okay. So and next one is noise and interference. Noise is always going to be inevitable in the case of the electronic circuits. So there could be external noise, internal noise, thermal noise. So all these noises are normally get interfered with the sensor output signal, and this noise has to be minimized. So therefore, noise minimization techniques has to be implemented in the filter circuits and signal conditioning circuits, and also in the interfacing circuits. So all these three areas, we can just simply use the filters to compensate with the noise signals. Okay. The next is response time. The response time of a sensor is quite inferior because the sensors are normally going to be slow devices, whereas electronic circuits are going to be fast devices. So because of this mismatch, definitely the response time is going to be quite inferior. And the dynamic correction of this sensor output becomes very much necessary. That means dynamic correction has to be done for the sensor outputs because of this imbalances in the response of the sensor with respect to response of the electronic circuits. So drift appears in the sensors because of the slow changes in its physical parameters due to the aging and deterioration in ways of oxidation and so on. Sensor is a slow device. Just now, same problem once again. Sensor is a slow device. Because sensor is a slow device, its physical parameters are going to change very, very slowly. So therefore, we experience drifts in the outputs of the digital systems. So this has to be compulsorily taken care. Cross sensitivity means what? The sensor has to have more sensitivity for the desired measure and value, and it should have a less sensitivity with respect to the other stimulus signals. So this is what the cross sense. That means what is the meaning of this cross sensitivity is that the sensor should be sensible only to the desired input stimulus signals. It should be less sensible to the undesired input noise signals. That is the meaning of cross sensitivity. And it should be reliable. Reliability on what issues? Mechanical shocks, variable frequency variations, high and low temperature storage times. So the circuit has to be compulsorily reliable, and operational life should be really more in spite of pulse, pressure, temperature cycling with bias voltages. So it should be reliable. Okay, reliable means what? Trustworthy. It should be trustworthy in its operations. Right. So the next one is information coding. Information coding. What is information coding? Information coding is necessary for transmitting the signal effectively. So signal from sensor is processed, providing the correction, compensation, linearization, freedom from cross sensitivity, drift, etc. Just now we discussed. That means signal after processing is now perfectly ready to get transmitted. So such a process signal finally available in the digital form. Now usually the smart sensors comes with a multi-sensor systems, and the number of signals available for either display or signal processing subsequently to be connected to the connection bus. So smart sensors are always going to communicate with other sensors in the domain under consideration or application under consideration. So in that process, data has to be transferred. Now, how do we transfer the data? That is the question. That means the information is known as data is received by information coding system in the sensor integrated system. So some of the signals are released, stored, destroyed, and some are reconstructed. That means while communicating the information from one sensor to another sensor, we have to employ coding techniques. That is what called coding information in general, we say. So coding can be done for the digital meters, coding can be done for the indicators, coding can be done for the recorders, coding can be done for the data communication in terms of baud rates. So coding is normally meant for providing more secure data, and it supports the communication media also. Okay, that is why information coding is really very much essential. It provides encryption of data, decryption of data, line coding, channel coding in case you want to transmit data for very long distance communications. So all this is something like we normally use in the coding information coding. So encoder is a primary element in the information encoding scheme. The next one is data communications. Data communication means what? Baud rates normally comes into picture. So therefore, coded data is processed for communication by software processor, and suitable interface system communicates between the processor and the bus. We need to have appropriate communication system using the baud rates. to communicate a signal from system into the bus, then from bus into the another system. So the smart sensors looks like this. These are the smart sensors. The entire chip is nothing but a smart sensor. It's something looks like this over here. Okay. So we have seen the general block diagram of the smart sensor, which comprises of the basic sensing unit known as the primary sensor and the signal conditioning, A to D converters, memories, communication units, local user interfaces, all of them connected to the processing unit known as application algorithms. And we have seen the general architecture of the sensor. And next thing is the smart sensors are normally being connected to the load via interfacing circuits. So interfacing circuits are normally used to support two important concepts. One is maximum power transfer. Whatever signal that is coming at the output of sensor has to be transmitted effectively into the load that you are connected. So two examples we can consider known as resistive sensor and a capacitive type of the sensor. So we'll try to observe the operations by in the need of these two to have a very good compatibility between the two systems. Okay. So here we can just speak about a maximum power transfer theorem. What is maximum power transfer theorem? Say this is the source element, this is the load. So source is going to have the internal resistance Rg and R is the circuit resistance. If Rg plus R becomes equal to I, and if this I is becomes equal to RL, then the maximum power is normally going to get transferred to the load. So this is a theorem which has to be satisfied. And next one is, if the input signal is going to be of low frequency and I want to transmit only low frequency signal, then I'm going to use interfacing circuit as a low pass filter to transmit low frequencies effectively to the load. So that is where we normally use the interfacing circuits. Okay. So this is how we normally use interfacing circuits. Okay. So like this, using interfacing circuits, we transfer the signals. And these are the things which are frequency responses, which we don't have in the syllabus. Okay. So straight away, we go into the another topic now. That is sensor. We discussed what is basically a sensor. Sensors are devices that respond to the physical stimulus known as heat, light, sound, pressure, magnetism, motions, okay, displacement, etc., and convert that into the electrical signal. This is not a primary sensor definition, it is a sensor definition. Primary sensor means what? Because of this input stimulus as heat, light, sound, pressure, magnetism, etc., it simply changes the molecular behavior of the sensor. Okay, that is what called the primary sensor basic definition. Ordinary sensor, usual sensor is going to convert the stimulus, physical stimulus into the electrical signal. That means something like one form of energy into another form of energy, known as transducers. So transducers are devices used to convert energy of one kind into energy of another kind. Actuators, we discussed devices to perform an output function, which are generally called as actuators. That means actuators are normally going to perform the output functions. And these actuators are used to control some external devices, which involves with movements, which involves with dynamic movements of a system, is called basically actuators. That means the motor circuit, that means the input to the motor is given to the actuator, actuator output is given to the shaft, shaft is given to the motor. Thereby, the motor is going to revolve because of the action of the actuators. So like that, we use the actuators. Then practically, what are the common transducers we have that we'll be having? Let us look into this. What type of sensors we're going to have, say for light level, the input is going to be light. What sensors we can use for light energy as the input? LDR, light dependent resistors. That means the output resistance depends on the input light. Similarly, photodiode is normally going to convert light energy into the current. Phototransistor is also going to convert light energy into the electrical energy. Solar cell is normally going to convert light energy into the electrical energy. So what are the output devices we can use? For these sensors, I can use lights, lamps, LED bulbs, displays, fiber optics, all these I can use as output devices. Similarly, so many types of inputs are given for which we're going to have different types of sensors. Like if it is temperature is the input, we're going to use thermocouple, thermistor, thermostats, resistive temperature detectors, RTDs. Output devices we can use as heaters and fans. Similarly, strain gauges, pressure switches, load cells are going to use force or pressure as the input. They normally used to lift some objects, that is lifts, normally used for lifts, jacks, okay, electromagnetic vibrations we're going to use. Then next one is potentiometers, encoders, reflective slot opto switch, LVDTs are normally used if the input is going to be a position change known as displacement. Now they are normally used in the motors, solenoids, panel meters. So motor, always we know what is a motor. Motor is going to convert electrical energy into the mechanical energy known as a motor. What is solenoid? Solenoid is normally going to have a uniform magnetic energy over the given length, is known as a solenoid. And panel meters means what? Something like panel board meters, digital meters. We can use this. The next is tachometers, tacho generators, slotted opto couplers, Doppler effect sensors. For all these things, speed is the input. So tachometers is normally used to find out speed of a motor. Okay, that means output is going to be a stepper motor, braking systems, AC and DC motors. Okay. Then last one is carbon microphones. I am talking to you by using a microphone. Now, that means this one is a microphone. So this microphone, what is the input of this microphone? It is a sound. Right. What is the output from the microphone? It is going to be the loud speaker. This microphone's sound is processed and is given to the speaker. Right. Then next is what? Piezoelectric crystal. Piezoelectric crystal output is going to be a buzzer or a bell. Okay, like this, we're going to have different types of sensor devices for the practical applications. So we discussed something like a smart sensor. So smart sensor is normally an integrated sensor, comes like integrated sensor which has electronics and transducer elements together on a single silicon chip. Can be called as a system on chip. That means sensors are going to come like a system on chip architecture. That is monolithic architecture, just now we discussed. So that is what called a smart sensor, which comes in any sensor which comes in a monolithic chip is known as a smart sensor in general. So we discussed about these various functions of a sensor like data conversion, bidirectional communication, taking decision makings, perform logical operations. Types of smart sensors. So you're going to have, we can have hybrid sensors also. That means mixture of various sensing operations can be done using the hybrid sensors. That means mixture of temperature sensor, pressure sensor, voice sensor, all of them can be mixed. Okay, that is called a hybrid type of the sensors. The next one is integrated smart sensors. Sensors will come up like an IC chip. So in a single IC chip, we normally going to have various sensors, which are all connected to the bus interface units. That means here, say for example, magnetic sensor, chemical sensor, optical sensor, mechanical sensor, thermal sensor. All these sensors are connected in a single chip. And the single chip is connected to the bus interface unit. So this is the integrated version of the integrated smart sensor integrated circuit. And this is the block diagram we have seen, and all these modules also we have just simply seen earlier. Okay, these are the things which we have, and advantages, disadvantages we discussed. And finally, we're going to have the applications on the sensors. So where we use these sensors? So we already know what is a sensor. Sensor is a device which is normally used to sense the external stimulus in the automated systems, normally used in the automated systems, such as remote controllers, automobile cars, automobile two-wheeler vehicles, okay, like that. So what are the applications where we use sensors? Industrial applications we use the sensors, like to count the number of objects moving in a conveyor belt. I normally use these sensors, counting sensors. So like that, we're going to use various types of sensors for pressure, temperature, humidity level, okay, and humidity level, and also for vibrations. We use sensors in automobiles to have a communication between engines, communication between engine, transmission unit, suspension, braking systems, and other controls. Then fingerprint recognition, that means biometric machines are normally going to have a fingerprinting recognition systems, algorithms. So using these algorithms, the fingerprint are known as finger image is normally going to get captured by using a live scan mechanism, and it will be stored in the internal storage. And every time whenever a user is going to put his finger, that is simply going to get scanned, and it's going to get matched with the internal storage element. If both are matched, it is going to allow that person, otherwise it is not going to allow that person. The next one is pattern recognition, that means image processing. We use pattern recognition in telecommunications. Nowadays we're using SIM cards, that is called subscriber identity module, known as a SIM card. So in the technological terms, we call it as a wireless identity module. In the user customer side term, we call it as a subscriber identity module, normally used in the GSM mobiles. So this card is normally going to guarantee 100% security for e-commerce applications. That is basically banking applications, anything related to the e-business. Okay, so it provides a better means for encryption and decryption of the data. So this SIM card is going to have a small chip. This chip is normally going to contain entire information of that particular card. Then similarly, smart toys, smart dust elements. Smart dust is a hypothetical wireless network of tiny micro electromechanical sensors. What is MEMS? Micro electromechanical sensors known as MEMS. So smart dust is a hypothetical wireless network of tiny micro electromechanical systems, sensors. Robots are devices which can detect light energy, temperatures, vibrations. That means once again, smart dust sensors are normally used as a element which can sense the fire, which can sense the light, which can sense the water levels without the invention of the human being. Okay, because it is normally used in the robots. So normally used in the robots, these robots will normally, sense using this particular smart dust sensors about the fire, water levels, temperature, humidity, everything. Okay. Then we use them in biomedical applications. In the medical field also we use sensors like ultrasound sensors, like silicon technology sensors, CT scan sensors, right, so on and so forth. And we normally use in even in defense also, we normally going to use this type of the sensors to have intercommunication on the remotely placed internet protocol network, internet protocol enabled devices. That means in order to transmit so much of information on the wired and wireless media to different places, to different IP addresses, we use this particular sensors. Okay. Now, at the outset, what we can say, automation can't be imagined without the smart sensors. That means if at all you wanted to automate a system, automation means what? Without the involvement of human being, the system has to perform as if like human being, right? That means human being, what that say, human being senses the temperature, human being senses the coldness. Instead of human being, the system should sense. So these sensors are potentially cheaper, offer higher performance, reliability, and much more smaller in size than their discrete counterparts. So it is cheaper, keeping in view of the advanced technologies, incorporation of advancements in the hardware. They also have been employed in the applications including transportation, healthcare systems also. So that means sensors are now part and parcel of our everyday life nowadays. Everywhere we are simply using the sensors. You can just name the application. We can normally use the sensors over there. Okay, that is what the stand sensors are going to take. So with this, we'll stop our session here. In next session, what we do is we will try to go with the applications of sensors. Last session is going to be applications of sensors. So we have a few applications, around 4 applications in the syllabus, known as automobile sensors, aeroplane sensors, home automation sensors. Okay, so like this, we have 4 sensors in the syllabus. So we discuss those applications in short to end up this particular unit called sensors and its applications. So I feel that understanding sensors is pretty easy for you people. Please practice those block diagrams and try to have an application approach towards understanding the sensors. Thank you very much for today's session.